Bledisloe Cup gets into action this weekend, folks, from Eden Park. The record is once again on the line as the Wallabies are coming to town, but they've not got a good record against the All Blacks recently. Despite all the All Blacks' troubles, there's one team the All Blacks have been able to beat. It is the Wallabies. We're going to go through the two teams which have been announced. There are some changes, some guys back, and some milestones as well. Plus, we will have a look at some stats, predictions, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this week's game is gonna go at Eden Park. As the Rugby Championship sits right now, 4 rounds completed. Everyone's 2 wins and 2 losses, but it is the Wallabies who are on top of the log at the moment, partly due to those couple of bonus points they got at the death against the Pumas. The All Blacks, with that record loss to the Box, dropped down into 3rd spot, but 10 points, 11 points. The All Blacks are only behind the Box on points difference, so there's very little in it, but you feel like the Wallabies, they're going to be massive underdogs, but Eden Park has never quite looked as tasty for them, like not for a long time. Anyway, let's start with the All Blacks, though, because they have got some bouncing back to do after that loss down in Wellington. They've had a week off to sit and review and stew, I guess, about it. But the key point is, for mine, Cam Roygaard's back at 9. He's only one man. Rugby is a 15 or 23-man game. But having Cam Roygaard back at 9 and just having Ratsama back fit as well, he's been without his halfbacks for the vast majority of this Rugby Championship. It feels like old Razor. But having Cam Roygaard back fit surely automatically puts the All Blacks just ever so slightly on the front foot. There have been times in his very short All Blacks career that Cam Roygaard has been one of those guys who can still look good when the All Blacks aren't playing their best. He is there at 9, and I welcome his return with open arms, as I believe most All Blacks fans would. It's got a distribution game, which is very solid, and a pretty powerful running game for a number 9, which you gotta like. Likewise, Caleb Clarke returns on the left wing, and Razor specifically mentioned that guy's ability in the air. This season we have been, not just this season, but particularly, and especially the 2 losses the All Blacks have had in the Rugby Championship, we've struggled under the high ball. It has looked awful. You feel like the All Blacks guys need to go spend the off-season or the pre-season with some of the AFL teams or something over in Australia to learn how to catch high balls, because it's been a real struggle. I don't know what they need to do, but it ain't been working, whatever they've been doing. But fingers crossed, Caleb Clarke, big unit, pretty good aerial game. He can jump really high. Hopefully he secures a bit of that aerial pill should the Wallabies look to ping that at us. And him coming back means the backline has to reshuffle. Will Jordan goes back to fullback, and Leroy Carter swaps wings from left to right. He got his debut in a record defeat for the ABs, which is not ideal, but he still busted a bunch of tackles. He still scored a try. So there were some positives to come from that guy's introduction into the black jersey. Now, the forward pack is probably where the vast majority of the work needs to be done, and there's fewer changes there. De Groot's still there, and Lomax is still there. Lomax is still getting back up to speed, and Razor did kind of mention that the props will be a game better despite that loss to the Box. Remember that Lomax and Tamaiti Williams were still kind of nursing their way back into the squad through injuries with not that much rugby under the belt. And I think it's partially showed. De Groot was the only All Blacks prop who didn't concede any penalties against the Box, and he's had a more kind of consistent run in terms of his game time. Cody Taylor is back at hooker as well. That sees Tokiaho drop to the bench, so Razor's 2 preferred hookers are back in the squad, which is a bit of good news, but he's lost his captain. Scotty Barrett is out. Now, I've got a sneaking suspicion that there are going to be a few All Blacks fans who are maybe quietly curious or maybe quietly pleased that Scotty Barrett is not playing in this one, because a lot of people would like to see Artie as captain. Artie gets the captain of the side for this one. And there's a few who might suggest that Fabian Holland and Tupavai are actually our best locker duo at the moment. They certainly bring kind of more specialized skills than the all-rounder, the defensive workhorse and work rate guy that Scotty Barrett is, which doesn't get seen as much. Like, Holland's our main line-out operator in terms of securing our own ball. Vai'i is second, and Vai'i is our best defensive line-out man in terms of pinching opposition ball, which is always more highlight-worthy. And the fact that Holland is such a big unit, just loves making a tackle, I think that gets him, on the radar of a few people, maybe more than Scotty Barrett. I don't know. But Scotty Barrett's injured with a shoulder. He's going to be back. So he's still a very, very good player. But it is going to be interesting to see how they go without him, because you could also argue in that loss down in Wellington, leadership with both Barrett and Artie on the field, to be fair, was found a wee bit lacking. Simon Parker, Artie Savia, who is captain, as I mentioned, and Wallace Atiti, they are unchanged in the back row. So that's pretty steady as she goes. Roygaard and Bodie Barrett, as I mentioned, that's the 19 combo. So Bodie continues on. D-Mac shifts to the bench for this one. No temptation from Razor to switch things up at 10. Geordie Barrett and Billy Proctor still keep going in the midfield. That's a combo that plays together at club level, at least when Geordie's not away with Leinster. You feel like you'd like to see them click as well if you are an All Blacks fan. Bench-wise, Tokiaho, Williams, and Newell, those are front row replacements. One kind of sad thing about the All Blacks games thus far, like Tokiaho is our top try scorer in a team which has got a bunch of game breakers in theory in the back line. He's got more tries than Will Jordan this tournament. So yeah, it'd be like to see it'd be nice to see the backs clicking a wee bit more. But in theory, there's some good props and hookers. There's a good front row to come off the bench. I say in theory because they got pumped against the box. But as I said, it's been a bye week and our props are getting back fit. So I will choose to be an optimist. Paddy Tupulotu is likewise another veteran to come off the bench. He's a big unit. He will help empower the scrum. Him and Fabian Holland are both pretty good guys to help out the front rows in that regard. Lakai comes in as the loose forward replacement for this one ahead of Karifi. Ratsama is their back fit. As I mentioned, Tupaya and D-Mac are your bench replacements. So, yeah, it's not wholesale changes from Razor, despite the fact that there was that record defeat. He's not been kind of tempted to throw the baby out with the bathwater. He already knows that the aerial game's an issue. He highlighted that in the press conference. He's still without Scotty Barrett, like I mentioned, Noah Hotham. Ruben Love's unfortunate. I want to see that guy get more game time, but he's not in the 23. But yeah, we'll see how the forward pack in particular fronts up, and if Roygaard can help getting the back line to click. For the Aussies, we need to give a big shout out to James Slipper because he's going to bring up his 150th test for the Wallabies. Debuted back in 2010. What were you doing in 2010? I was not married and didn't have any children. It's a lifetime ago. Didn't have a mortgage in 2010. So it's a very, very long time ago. He's been an absolute legendary servant for Aussie rugby at this point. So fingers crossed for him that he has a good game. And wouldn't it be a massive milestone for him to get one step closer to that elusive Bledisloe Cup and break the Eden Park record? And he's going to be underdogs, but geez, for him, that'd be the ultimate. Billy Pollard and Taniela Tupa are alongside him, so there's no changes in the front row. Steady as she goes. Nick Frost is back. Remember, he missed the last Argentinian game with a bit of a back niggle. He's certainly a wily operator at line-out time, so good news to have him back. And then Lukan Salakaia-Loto, in the absence of Will Skelton, who's not available for this one, does bring along some of that kind of big enforcer presence, big physical unit. Came off the bench in the last game, so pleased to see him there from a Wallabies perspective. That means Tom Hooper can shift back from the second row to number 6, so they've got that kind of extra line-out, big physical work rate option if they need him. Fraser McCright has been tackling the house down for the Wallabies, and then Harry Wilson. He's been really impressive. He's got genuinely all, I've been singing his praises all tournament, but man, the offloads, the kicks, like the leadership of the man. Like this is a side which goes down a lot and has the fortitude to kind of come back. That's something that you got to give credit to the captain. Backs-wise, interesting, because Tate McDermott is there at 9. Remember, Nick White has retired again, so he's not in the mix anymore. So Tate McDermott shifts from the super sub role to the starter role. You feel like his game kind of suits the super sub role in terms of the sniping and, the pace that he can bring to the game against tired bodies, but we'll see what job he can do when he's given the start. And then James O'Connor, who had flown back to his new club over in England, Leicester, has flown back and is available for this one. So they've got a bit of a veteran. These guys have played together, McDermott as well as O'Connor, so familiar 19 combo. You feel like them clicking is going to be crucial. Also, crucially for them, Len Ikitau is back. I know Paisami had a pretty solid game for them in his absence in that second game against the Pumas, but Len Ikitau and he's getting overshadowed by, the league convert Suoli'i outside him, but Ikitau, he's been carrying, he's been Johnny on the spot, at halfback, pick and goes, just doing everything. Really, really immense player for the Wallabies. I feel like him being back, it almost makes up for the absence of Rob Valentini, who is very notable in his absence because he is kind of their main guy for, trucking it up as the Aussie forwards. I didn't mention him when I mentioned the forwards. If Valentini's not available, he's injured, but Ikitau being back it balances out the bad news. Ikitau is very, very good news for the Wallabies. Suoli'i, can't sleep on that guy. He's the top try scorer of the Rugby Championship. He's been just improving game on game, hasn't he? And then outside backs, Corey Toole, the pace man. Harry Potter has had to come in on the right wing. And Max Jorgensen is there at 15. So they've had to reshuffle the backline a wee bit. Remember, Tom Wright's got a long-term injury. Andrew Callaway has got a calf injury, so they've really had to reshuffle. I don't think Jorgensen's ever started at fullback for the Wallabies, but he certainly played heaps of Super Rugby there. So whether he is sent chasing high balls will likewise be a pretty interesting one, but Wallabies backline has been explosive. Painga Mosa is brought in alongside Alan Alatoa. So a couple of proper physical veterans there alongside Gus Bell. So they'll be looking to bring it from the bench when they come on. Jeremy Williams drops to the bench, the lock. Carlo Tizzano is another high work rate guy to bring off the bench. Ryan Lonergan could potentially get his debut if he comes off the bench to replace Tate McDermott at halfback. Tane Edmed drops to the bench with O'Connor starting this time. And then Filippo Daugunu had a big cameo in that second game against the Pumas, scoring a couple of tries from the bench. But yeah, we'll see if he's able to get that kind of same space against the ABs. I promised you guys some stats. They were pretty hard reading after the All Blacks loss in Wellington. Tackle percentage of 71, I think, is the lowest I have ever seen the All Blacks have. They missed like 45 tackles in that game. It's honestly a bonkers number. You've seen the All Blacks in the 80s before, in the high 70s, but to be just above 60%, 71% is genuinely atrocious. It just doesn't happen to the ABs. You've got to give a lot of credit to the block ball carriers, but man, we missed some tackles. Line-out percentage has likewise been getting worse. So I think it was 100% in the first game against the Pumas, 80% in the kind of issue in the second games, and then 67 in Wellington. They need to get the set piece right. The scrum was getting bossed, and the high balls need to vastly improve. But despite that, the All Blacks have been scoring tries. They've scored more tries than more tries than the Pumas. Despite the fact the backline hasn't been clicking, they've still been getting tries. The maul has looked all right. So we'll see. We'll see if the All Blacks can correct these issues they had last time. The Aussie lineup on the flip side has been getting better. It was kind of in the 70s or 80s against the Box, then 90%, then 100% against the Pumas. So they'll be looking to secure their lineup ball and disrupt what the All Blacks are throwing at them. But the most impressive thing I think about this Wallabies side is their 32 line breaks in this Rugby Championship. The All Blacks have played the same two teams the Wallabies have and have managed 15. More than double the ABs. They went to South Africa. 2 games over in the Republic. They're a dangerous side. But they would like to stop having to chase games. They've had some deficits in this Rugby Championship as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a really, really fascinating one. Sold out Eden Park for this one. But as I mentioned, the All Blacks have got a stellar record against the Wallabies in recent years. Last 5 from 5 the ABs. The last Wallabies win is 2020. So it's been a long time between drinks for these Wallabies guys. There's been a few hidings in there, like 40-14, 38-7. Last year there was one 33-13, but there's been a couple of close ones as well. The famous one in Dunedin when Eddie was still coach. It was a 3-pointer comeback from the All Blacks. And then over in Sydney last year was 31-28. So likewise, pretty close. But on this side of the Tasman, the most recent Eden Park one's 40-14. All Blacks tend to be pretty good against the Wallabies. So could be just what the doctor ordered in terms of the All Blacks to bounce back, but it would be an absolutely atrocious way to follow up your worst ever defeat to lose the Eden Park record. But we will see. There's been less talked about this time, I feel like, than compared to that Box game. It is an early kickoff for this week's game. It's on at 5:05, which is an afternoon kickoff for you guys in Australia. And I believe it clashes with the AFL final, which is unfortunate because there's going to be a lot of eyeballs throughout Australia on that game. But I don't know what's the crossover of people who follow both. It just sucks that there's a clash of two pretty big events. But from a New Zealand perspective, it's nice to have some rugby in the sunshine, and it's better for taking kids along and whatnot. For you guys in Europe and South Africa, it's a pretty early wake-up call for this one as well. Andrea Piatti, the Italian, is the referee for this one. He's refereed at Eden Park before. He controlled the Argentinian match at Eden Park last year, where the All Blacks won that one pretty comfortably. So maybe that's reassuring from an All Blacks point of view. What are the predictions? The rugby forecast algorithm says by 9, and the bookies are saying by 12. So the All Blacks are predicted to get it done relatively easy. If you're wondering why I'm a Kiwi wearing a Wallabies jersey for the preview, this channel we tend to go underdog for the preview, winner for the review. The Wallabies are the underdog for this one. Me wearing the Wallabies jersey seems to rile more people up than any other team, maybe England as well. But there you go. If you want All Blacks gear or Wallabies gear, I'll put the links to both those shops, the All Blacks shop and the Wallabies shop, down in the description. They're sometimes having sales on, so worth checking out using those links. It tells them 2 cents sent you. If you want some rugby gear, maybe get some stuff before Christmas period. Christmas decorations are already on sale in some of the shops here in NZ. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts. Bledisloe number 1. How do you reckon it's going to go? What's the absence of Scotty Barrett going to do to the ABs? Slips in his 150th. Can he get one step closer to a first Bledisloe for him? You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.